Welcome back if you're returning. Well, the weather's been beautiful here and it's really enabled us to move along with the garden room. So if you were watching last week's video, you know that we are trying to build a garden room in the backyard. We're trying to build it without spending as little money as possible, and we want it to be substantial enough to last at least the summer. Now, obviously, things change and there's a new plan now, but this is where we were at last week when we ended the video. So we've sort of got the shell of the garden room set in. We've used doors, panels, bits of wood, everything is recycled here. I've bought the doors. So far I've spent $50 on paint, doors and screws. So the idea is to add to this. There's a roof to go on, and again, keep costs as low as possible. I also wanted to decorate it inside with recycled furniture, upcycled items, and spend, obviously, again, keep the costs as low as possible. So in last week's video I did a little bit of decor items. I recovered a couch and re-stenciled an old indoor-outdoor rug. So let's get to work and see what we're up to this week. Well, we made a lot of progress this week and there was a lot of hard work on hubby's part. We did manage to get all the extra panels in and get everything stabilised. We also picked up a curbside pickup of a lovely double glazed panelled window that we picked up I think it was probably last weekend. Now, it didn't have a frame on it, so what we had to do was make the frame, then it was siliconed into place, and then another frame was put on top to hold it into place. And of course it fits perfectly and it looks great from both our side and for the neighbours to look at it. So we've tried to finish everything off on the outside so that it looks the same as the inside, because there's nothing worse than looking into your neighbour's yard and seeing all their crap. So we didn't want to do that. So it looks great, and we're now ready to move on to the next section. These side panels that we have do not quite reach the floor, so we've grabbed these old trellis panels, cut them to size, and we're just fitting them in both sides until we get some deck boards. We're going to get some free deck boards in the next few weeks, and what we're going to do is fill in with these deck boards, which will give us side walls, and then probably use the same panels for the windows that we're going to use. I'll show you later on. But if we can find windows to use, we definitely will do that. So again, like I said, hubby's just made a frame and then cut them to size and screw them into place. Now, our backyard is a big backyard and it's surrounded by lovely mature trees, which are just gorgeous, and we're really lucky, but there's no shade whatsoever in the actual garden. So it's really important for us, because before I went completely grey, I was a redhead, so I can burn under a light bulb. So I do need shade, and I find it more than 5 minutes I need to have shade. So that's one of the main reasons we're building this. So it was time to get the staple gun out and to get everything stapled into place. So you can see here what we've done is, first of all, I stapled it from the outside and then decided I didn't like it the way it looked there, so I swapped everything over and stapled it on the inside. Now, the next thing to do was to make the pitched roof. The reason we're doing this is because the one tent that we had, the one party tent, which was quite a big tent, and it was great, it just literally didn't last 5 minutes, had a really nice pitched roof, like the old buildings, like a house would. And I really liked that, and I asked my hubby would he be able to do that, and of course, thank God. He was a clever guy, and he made this pitched roof perfectly to fit the pattern of this piece of roofing that we were going to use. So it took him a little while to get all the measurements right. He built all the panels in sections, and measured so that once we pulled the roof over, it would all fit perfectly, and it did. It was absolutely amazing the way he did this. So we got it all in place and then painted everything, and then we were ready to pull the roof up. And the idea was we would stand at the back of the garden room on ladders and literally sort of peel the roof over the rafters and into place and staple everything down. So at this point we've pulled the roof panel over, basically got it into place, and you can see how well this fits already, and nothing is stapled down or nailed down. We've got the corners in place, and what he's doing is going around with batons and he's screwing everything down so it's securing the whole thing. And then I'm standing at the front of the building and I'm pulling everything over, obviously carefully because I don't want to rip it. This is just like a plastic roof. So I'm pulling from the front and he's moving back to the front, and he's taking batons and screwing down the roof in place as we go. This was quite time consuming because obviously we didn't want to rip anything. We had to make sure that everything was nice and tight and just in place. When we get to the front, we just gather it all up and staple it directly to that stabilised piece of wood that goes across the front of the building. And then the roof was on, and there's just a couple of things to finish it off. So everything was really moving along well. I've got my side panels, my roof on. I decided I wanted to add a little bit of decor. Now this back panel was a fence panel, so it has got quite big gaps in it, and I really wanted to fill in these gaps. I thought, what can I use? Then I remembered I had this wallpaper, self-adhesive wallpaper, and I thought, well, I'll try it vertical, I'll try it horizontally, and then decided to go all the way along the back with these panels. So I cut them to size and then stuck them into place. And this is that back panel now with the paper on. I think it looks great, and it's just served its purpose because I'm hoping to have a day bed along this back wall so that it's waterproof, the whole wall except for the slats there. So I figure this way I've filled in the slats. Now these corner panels here, I'm having shelving on this one door, but on the other door with the bigger panels I'm adding some self-adhesive wall shelf lining paper. I've done this on a couple of other little projects as well to tie it all together, but this paper is so pretty, it almost looks like wallpaper. And I've done this previously in another house where I've taken panel doors and wallpapered them, and it just turns out so lovely. So as you can see, just a matter of cutting it to size. This comes on a roll. You can get it from the dollar store or Dollar Tree. And then I just laid it down and then trimmed it back afterwards with a blade. Now I had enough to do 3 door panels with this. The only door I didn't do was the door that's going to have the shelves on. So it worked out perfectly well. Well, we're 90% finished, and I was hoping to get more done, but we had the most awful rainstorm, and it went a little chilly. This little bee was hiding from the rain. So as you can see, the roof is on, the side panels are on. I'm starting the inside decor. Everything looks really cool. There's still a few things to be done to be finished off, but because of the rain, I couldn't get it in and couldn't get it done for this week's video. So next week we'll have the completed garden room and everything will be finished. I have a couple of cans that I have saved, and I'm going to make some outdoor flower containers. I'm making them out of cans so that, you know what, if they get blown down or if anything happens to them, it's not going to matter. They're not going to break. The worst case scenario, they're going to dent. So what I'm doing is I'm just giving them both a good coat of white chalk paint. Then I'm going to decoupage one, and then I'm going to use the same wall liner paper to cover the other one, and I'm going to make them into little hanging flower pots. So I just wanted to show you quickly, once you've made the holes, go back over them with the pliers and just pinch everything down. This flattens any sharp edges and makes it smooth, so you're not going to catch yourself, or there'll be nothing to cut yourself on. And actually how to make the holes is I've taken a piece of wooden block, put a towel on top, and then hammered this nail through on equal on both sides. And then I've taken, this is the copper wire that I use all the time, just cut a length, put it through the holes, wound it back on itself, and just bent it around with the pliers again so that there's no little pieces sticking out. I also did a second one with little beads on, just to cover up the wires. Once those are done, you take your greenery, and if you've got any oasis, you can put it in the bottom. I've just added in the oasis loosely and then just put the greenery into place, and then it's ready to go. This next basket was a thrifted find from the other week. I just painted it with white chalk paint, and then I took these handles that I'd also thrifted the other week, and what I've done is I've taken some ribbon, threaded it through the spacing in the basket, tied 2 knots, then glued the one loose end of ribbon onto the other, and then I've threaded the ribbon through the hollow handle and tied it up again very tightly on the other end. Again, tied it in a double knot, and then put the last little tail of ribbon up through the handle, and it's given this little basket a new lease on life. It looks really pretty with the little handles on it. Once that was done, I just went back here and made sure that the handle was nice and tight, and all I did was I just unpicked the knot and tightened the handle up a little bit. So once the handle was nice and tight, I decided to decoupage the front and the back, and on the front I'm putting the top layer of the paper, and on the back I'm using the back part, which has a very faint almost like a pencil drawing of the original picture, and I just think it looks really pretty. So I've covered the front in decoupage Mod Podge, and then once that's covered I'm going to lay my paper down, and then I'm going to give it another coat of Mod Podge on top, and then once that's finished I'm going to do the same on the back with the backing piece of paper, just because I like the way it looks with the very faint pattern. And then you can use this basket either with the prominent picture on the front or the lighter picture on the back. So I think you probably remember these from a couple of weeks ago. I picked up 2 oval frames that were in really good condition for $1 each. I've taken the glass and the backing pieces off, and I'm giving them one good coat of this. It's called Midnight Charcoal, I think it's called, something like that. It's one of blue paint that I've used before. This is a chalk paint. So I've given the frame a really good coat of that, and I've done this with both frames. Once the frames are drying, I take my botanical prints and mark where they have to sit on this backing piece. Now I don't have any mats or anything, so what I'm doing is I'm going to create a border out of moss. So I tried one with glue, but it was a bit messy, so I've taken this double-sided tape, and I found this works so much better. So all I'm doing is I'm putting the double-sided tape down, peeling it back, putting the picture back into place, and then sticking the moss all around the picture, and then once it's done, it's going to go back in its frame. I just really wanted to show you this quick picture of the first night the garden room was finished before I started decorating it, and I was so pleased with how it's turned out so far. I can't wait to finish it and show you next week. So these are a few of the items that I have made in either last week's video or this week's video. I love how these frames have turned out. Again, I am definitely going with a cottagey theme and a botanical theme for the decor. There's lots of items that I've made. There's a few more that I have planned for next week's video. I absolutely want to try and adapt a bed and make a day bed for outside. Like I said, there's a few really cool little things that I have planned, but hopefully it will all come together. We will finish the garden room completely and be able to pull it all together for next week's video, weather permitting, and I really look forward to showing you how it turns out. I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you so much to all my subscribers, old and new. I really do appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos, not just watch them, but to want to come back each week and see more, and for the lovely comments that I get. I always read them, and I always respond to everyone, and I really do appreciate you all. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week for the final reveal of my whimsical cottage core garden room. Have a great week.